What's up, everybody? Jason Statham and David Ayer teamed up again after The Beekeeper last year, and now we've got a working man. But should they have teamed up again? Let's talk about it. David Ayer and Sylvester Stallone presented a tale of a man who left his life in counterterrorism behind, only to be pulled back in when his newfound family is threatened. Jason Statham brings that to life, and there's moments early in this movie where it had potential, but ultimately, this whole movie is a missed opportunity. Not just for one thing either. I'm going to dive into the story in a second here, but I think the best way I could describe this movie as a whole is it's a sheet of glass, and the plot, the story, is the crack in the center that then spiderwebs into too many other things that went wrong with this movie. As far as the story's concerned, it's not terrible, but while I was watching the movie, I was able to poke holes in it and craft paths that I felt fit better for the movie. I don't know about you guys, but for me, that only happens with movies that I'm truly checked out of, and it happened very early with this movie. The big example of that kind of stuck with me after the movie centers around the college girl that has to be saved, but she's a master of karate. Now, there is a moment towards the end of the movie where she genuinely does need saving, but they present her in such a way throughout the movie where it's hard for me to believe that she would ever really need saving. She's very capable of escaping. I mean, she's basically a ninja, but that created this problem for me watching the movie where I'm not believing that Statham and his character needed to throw away their life for her. In fact, there's your spiderweb crack right now because I felt like they really underplayed the disregarded veteran aspect of his character story. The opening credits are his service, and that was a great idea, so credit where credit's due, but then it just felt like, it kind of became an afterthought to the movie. To me, it was the richest element of his character, and the poor execution is a major reason this story is so emotionally hollow. I think if they had just gone a bit deeper on this side of the story, put a little more care into crafting it, my thoughts on the movie could have completely flipped. It's kind of in there. They very well could have had the intention of getting this point across, but if they had just built more on Statham, the disregarded veteran, helping this community or family that's been disregarded because of the Russians in the community, it would have been great. But even if they were trying to do that, there's nothing but a hint of it in the movie. Let's talk about the action in the movie, though. I'd say it was probably the best part of the movie for me, but it was still not very good, unfortunately, especially for Jason Statham movie, and it was even a step down from The Beekeeper, which was his last movie with David Ayer. Usually, when it comes to Jason Statham movies, I might overlook some problems because the action is good enough, or maybe I should say entertaining enough. That's always kind of made up for the rest of what's in these movies with him, but that wasn't the case with The Working Man. The action was good, just not good enough to carry the movie. There were also just no memorable fights in the movie, and honestly, the only one I feel is worth mentioning is that final shootout and the duo fight at the end of the movie. That was the closest we got to a great action sequence in the movie, in my opinion, which would be fine if the story was better, but here we are. Another thing that could have, I don't want to say save the movie, I think that would be exaggerating a bit, but maybe it would have improved the action scenes and then therefore improved the movie because it could have been, just your regular Jason Statham movie, good action and a forgettable story if they were better, and that's both the score and the soundtrack. They're both forgettable, generic, and I never really felt either build any tension or hype during any of the fights, or for that matter, any of the scenes in the movie. Then we've got the visuals, which I thought were good overall, but there was nothing that blew my mind here. The camera movement was cool during the fights, and they cut well in between the cameras too in those fight scenes. It's just, like the rest of the movie, there was nothing memorable with them. Actually, no, I just lied. That was a lie. The moon is hilariously big in this movie. It's insane, but overall, and in all seriousness, it's kind of just in one eye, out the other eye, in one ear, out the other ear with the movie. Finally, I do want to touch on the cast real quick because this is actually where I ended up being the most disappointed with the movie, and that came as a big surprise. Now, before I bitch and moan about it, Statham, he does this thing, lacks some emotion, but he's good as the badass, and it was actually Ariana Rivas who delivered the strongest performance in this one, and I can't wait to see her now that I've seen her in this, in The Black Phone 2. But back to this movie, I didn't get a thing out of anybody else on this cast. I'm a huge David Harbour guy, and Michael Pena too. He's usually great, and they both were put into roles where I would assume they'd succeed, but, and I hate to be harsh here, but they were both absolute zeros in this movie. I don't know if it was the script, the direction, or the cast themselves, but there wasn't an ounce of emotion to be found in this story that I truly, truly believe could have been rich with it. But that's going to do it for my review of A Working Man. It's rare I dislike a movie this much, but there's got to be bad movies so that we appreciate the great ones, as this one lands at a 4 out of 10 for me. Drop your thoughts on the movie though down in the comments below. Even if you disagree with me, smash that like button and make sure you have a great day.